All right, welcome to MLB Network Podcast presented by New Balance. We got now, and man alive, do we ever. I'm so excited to introduce our guests to you. We're here today to talk about the Clubhouse. It's a year with the Red Sox, available now on Netflix, and I have with me the director of the eight parts doc series, three-time Emmy Award-winning filmmaker Greg Whiteley. Greg, thank you, man. Thanks for joining me.
So great to be here, Harold.
This is so cool, getting a chance to talk about this docuseries. You know, having been a former player, and the access that I saw in this blew me away, that you were able to get in. But before we dive into that, I want to ask you, how'd this come about with the Red Sox?
Well, as you know, because you were involved in some of these early discussions, it was about 4 years ago that Major League Baseball approached us and said they were familiar with some of the work that we had done, Last Chance U, Cheer, etc., and wanted to know if we'd be interested in following a Major League Baseball team. And of course we would be, but I was skeptical because we'd had discussions with other pro leagues before, and the discussions would always break down whenever we would bring up the kind of access that we need to do the type of programming that we like to do,
right,
and the editorial control that we need. But Major League Baseball didn't blink. They said, no, we want you to have those things. We think we can make that happen. We'd like to introduce you to a handful of Major League ball clubs that have expressed an interest, and then pick one and see where you go. And so we met with those teams. The Red Sox were among them, and we went with the Red Sox.
Well, a couple words stood out for me. One, express and content control. And you're going to see guys express themselves, and the content doesn't seem like you're sitting there restricting. They were saying and open all the way through. Is that what you expected to get and needed to have to make this work?
I think as a documentarian, my job is to let go of any expectations that I have, and to show up and just observe. And to, what that does is a couple of things. One, I've made the mistake in the past of thinking I know what the story's about. I think I know who I need to follow, and I think I know where their story needs to go. Yeah. And that sometimes makes me blind, Harold, to the things that are true, and the things that might surprise an audience, which is what you want when you're storytelling. You want to have an audience to be continually asking, well, what's going to happen next? Oh, I can't believe that just happened. Yeah. And you can sometimes close yourself off to those things if you think you know where the story's going. So I just try and show up as a blank slate. It's a little bit harder to do when these guys are household names in some case, you know, Rafi Devers and Trevor Story, et cetera. But it's still, I didn't know them as people, and getting to know them as people, and then also trying to break down baseball for people that may not be fans, but still have it be interesting to ardent baseball fans. I think that was our job with this show.
I mean, there's so much rich stuff that you just talked about. And for me, you know, there's a lot of Red Sox documentaries, movies, and it was kind of like, okay, seen this before.
Yeah, we didn't want to do
totally
that.
Different. I mean, you really go in. I think the thing that really hit me the most was getting to know the players, especially with what I do every day, watching the games, breaking them down, talking about them. I didn't know them. And I think this really allowed me to get to know players and their personal stories. And I thought Alex Cora played a big part, Breslow, the openness of the front office, being able to have meetings. But clearly Jared Duran is the guy who's going to steal the headlines because he just really opened you up. But talk to me about some of the characters in this, characters being the players, and some of the stories that made this work for you.
Well, because you've played, you can appreciate there is a kind of, what's the way to call it? The clubhouse is a sacred space.
Yeah,
because a professional athlete is under a microscope, and because they are so
the one place you can get away from everything.
It's the one place that you get to go. So the fact that the Red Sox would let us in there, and that the Red Sox did a really smart thing. The ownership group said, we think that this show would be good for baseball, and we think it would be good for the Red Sox. We want to move forward, but we can't unless the players say yes. So they organized a series of meetings with their players in which all I did was answer questions about the type of show we wanted to do. And they were the ones that allowed us in.
What were some of the questions? What were the player meetings like?
Well, they would ask, how will we get to edit this? No, you won't. But if you don't want to be filmed, you just say so, and we won't film you. You obviously will be on the team.
Seemed like nobody declined to be filmed. They were
Oh no,
open.
there were a few people that said, "Hey, I'm just not interested." In fact, there were some people that wanted to be filmed. Were even, I would say, aggressively open to being filmed one week, and then the next week they didn't want to be filmed. But that was always the deal, that we will only film you as a solo person.
Yeah.
We'll only focus on you when you're open to it.
So I think the challenge for the player is it's such a superstitious sport.
Yes.
If I'm hot and you're following me, no problem.
Oh.
But if I struggled early and you were following me, I'd have been like, I don't want anything to do with it. That's the mindset of a lot of players. Did you come across that at all?
Well, here's this story. Yeah, there was plenty of times where we'd mic a player for a game, and they would go 4 for 5, and then we only have so many mics, and if we weren't micing that person the next day, you could tell they were a little chapped. And then the reverse would be true. If we mic somebody and they have a bad outing pitching wise, well, they aren't going to touch us the next time they start. They will not wear that mic.
We'll be back with more of the Red Sox in the clubhouse, and yes, with the director, Greg Whiteley, when we come back. Welcome back to MLB Network Podcast, presented by New Balance. Worn by players like Tristan Casas and Jeremy Pena, to meet the demand of elite ball players, the New Balance Fresh Foam 3000 V7 is a comfortable cleat to help you stay focused on your gameplay. The 3000 V7 is designed to deliver comfort, unrelenting confidence on the field with an innovative coated mesh that offers soft breathability and durability. The Fresh Foam cushioning is precision engineered to deliver an ultra cushioned, lightweight ride, while a gusseted tongue keeps you centered. Learn more and purchase the 3000 at newbalance.com.
Baseball is king here. And the Boston Red Sox are royalty. But when you wear that crown, you have the weight of the world on your back.
Work your ass off, and let's see where it takes us.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Fenway Park.
There's a history to Red Sox Nation that goes through the generations.
In Boston, championships are contagious.
The fans expect us to play our hardest and best every day.
This is a team that has finished last 3 of the last 4 years. But you do wonder, what are they really like inside?
It's a game of failure, and you got to be okay with it.
If you're not cut out for it, you're in for a different experience in Boston.
The amount of pressure to make it to the major leagues is immense.
All these guys have talent, but it's about who can withstand the mental grind.
You can become very lonely in this environment.
With the trade deadline, you don't know where you're going to live, you don't know where they're going to fly.
162 games, that's a lot of bedtimes to miss.
Drawing some boos from the crowd.
It's a bad feeling when you're the reason why you're losing.
Any anxiety for you during the trade deadline?
We are focused on trying to improve the club.
Dealing with the pressure of this game sucked, Durant. It can snowball on you fast.
He is the kind of manager that players want to play for.
We're going to take care of you, okay?
There's only 780 big leaguers in the world. Nobody can take that away from you.
Hell yeah!
Baseball's magical. There's ups and downs every given night. Anything can happen.
Come on, let's go. Can't stop me now.
We've been talking with Greg Whiteley, the director of the clubhouse, and man, has it been interesting.
Something that I think people will find interesting is 162 games. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to go on 80 days worth of road trips. It's a whole other thing. Yeah, this was exhausting. It was for us. It was an endurance race. It felt like it was a marathon at a sprinter's pace. We opened up at Seattle, which you'll appreciate.
Yeah.
That was opening day for the Red Sox. That was our opening day film. The first Major League regular season game we ever got to film was in one of my favorite ballparks in all the world. And so we're there. We wake up early with the players. We hang out with Tyler O'Neill, his wife, and his kid in their hotel room. He gives us his whole nutrition breakdown.
Right.
And you know, it's not just him. It's his wife eats healthy and the baby eats healthy.
Yeah.
And then we go to breakfast with Tristan Casas and Cutter, and they've got this really great rapport.
And I thought Casas breaking down a 162-game schedule was so on point. And he explained why you play 162 and the difference, the little minute difference of one hit in a week, what that does to batting average.
Yeah.
He went deep.
Yeah.
He went deep on a lot of stuff.
He goes deep on a lot of different topics, but that was when him and Cutter disagreed. Like Cutter thought, it's too many games, I think. And Tristan was making a case for why it needs to be all 162. Well, so we're filming, and then I would have thought before I started this, Harold, that if there is a 7 o'clock game, you show up to the ballpark if you're a ball player at 5 p.m., you know?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, these guys are getting there at 10 a.m. And it's a busy 10 a.m. until first pitch at 7 p.m.
It's crazy.
So we get, it's a pretty exciting game. One of the highlights was we were blessed with our first game being in Seattle. That was a really great place to shoot. The Mariners rolled out the red carpet for our crew. We got all the access that we needed. And then it was this exciting game. We're filming Brian Bayo, who we'd been focusing on, who has his first, he's named their opening day starter. And we actually got that footage during spring training when he sat down with Alex Cora and Craig Breslow, and they named him as the opening day starter, this young kid who just signed a contract with the Red Sox.
Pretty cool.
And so it's a really fun game. But by the end of it, Harold, we're finished. It's now 11 o'clock at night. We're packing up all our gear, and Terry Zumwalt, who is our cinematographer, who should win an Emmy Award for his work on this show. It's the perfect blend of artistic, beautifully well-composed shots with verite raw moments. It's really hard to have both of those gears, and this guy has it. Well, we were gathering up all of that gear at the end of the night, and he turns to me and he goes, and he's drenched in sweat, having, been up since 6 a.m. and then, filming in the dugout, running and following players onto the field. And he looks at me and he goes, 161 more to go. And so imagine if you were playing. It was a special kind of hurt.
I get that. That's funny. You can appreciate that. There are some real serious moments. And episode 4, Jared Duran, we were talking about this. He talks about contemplating suicide and dives a lot in about mental health. And I think people don't understand the strain, the stress, and what mental health is. I thought he did a great job of bringing that to light. One, how'd that come about? And then secondly, I'll hold on to my second question because I think it changes the direction a little bit. But how'd that all come about with him bringing that forward?
It's not something when I started filming I knew anything about Jaron, even though he had been pretty outspoken with the media and candid about his mental health struggles.
Yeah.
I don't know that he ever went into any specifics, but he was candid about, hey, I have wrestled with this in the past. And as we got to know him, that was just something he was really great about sharing with me. I must admit, I didn't know enough about depression and how it can affect someone. As naive as this sounds, it wouldn't have occurred to me that someone in Jaron's position would struggle with depression. He is unbelievably handsome. He's unbelievably physically gifted. He makes good money as a professional baseball player.
Yeah.
And
great family.
A great family. Mom and dad and brother, that really tight, great family.
Doesn't profile with the thought that first comes to mind for most.
Yeah, it just would not. And so it was very helpful to me. It was an education for me, for him to walk me through the mental grind of baseball, but his particular mental grind of just struggling with that kind of, I think he would call it I don't know if he'd call it a mental illness, but it's something that he has wrestled with, I think, for a good portion of his adult life. And I think a lot of people who struggle similarly alone are going to take comfort in Jaron's story.
Yeah, and I think the power of that is all the things we described of him doesn't fit the quote-unquote profile that most people would think of someone who's struggling with mental health, right?
No.
And so for somebody at the pinnacle peak of his life, young, strong, vibrant, to go through that, it makes everybody go, well, wow, this person's not even near the level.
If it can happen to him.
Exactly. Yeah. Here we go with that. So my second question on that was, you're getting all this, and you know that you're sitting on this for a year before it gets to become public. As you go, and not only his story, but all these great stories you're going through, because you filmed for a year, and now we're releasing that year, a year later, basically. How hard was it to sit on the information and all the things that you're getting at real time?
Oh, I don't find that hard. For one thing, I don't have a lot of friends. I don't talk to a lot of people. I'm pretty consumed with the work that we're doing. And
That's
plus,
why you gave me that blank stare, like, what's he talking about?
Yeah.
That's no big deal.
Well, I don't want to spoil a good story. I feel like I'm sitting on this.
I can tell you some secrets.
Yes, you can. They will last with me. But Harold, I like to be the keeper of information, and I like finding the right way to dole it out. I thought when Jaron, on that night on the road, when he disclosed with us some things he had not disclosed previously to even his own family, I remember feeling a great burden, a great responsibility to be very wise with that information and with that footage. And I, to this day, consider it an honor and a privilege that he chose to share it with me.
We'll be right back here to talk more about the Clubhouse with Greg Whiteley. Welcome back to the MLB Network Podcast, presented by New Balance. We got now, question presented by New Balance. I know you're a big fan. You got to be a big Red Sox fan now. What player, after doing this, do you still follow?
Well, I'll if Jaron has a big game or Tristan has a big game, I'll text them. I texted Tyler O'Neill, even though he's not with the Red Sox anymore. He had another opening day home run, and
yeah,
so I made sure we traded texts over that. I feel like there wasn't a single human in that clubhouse, player, manager, assistant, clubhouse manager. There wasn't anybody there that I didn't walk away from that experience with the Red Sox admiring and highly regarding. They are a first-class organization, but also I think you don't make it to the major leagues without, I think, not just being physically gifted, and you have to be that, but I think nowadays you don't make it unless you're also a decent person to be around. If you're not a decent person to be around, you better be unbelievably physically gifted. And for this particular group of Red Sox, I felt like they really had this, they really had a no policy. And so I felt like I was amongst really good and decent people.
Yeah, no, and that, it's reflected. You get it. I tell you what, it just took me in. I'm excited for everybody to get a chance to see the 8 pieces of this whole deal. As we get going, we're like episodes 1 and 2 right now on Netflix. We're getting through this. At the end of it all, when you're done, you look back, all the editing, everything else, and everybody gets to see all 8 episodes. What do you want them to walk away with, having seen this?
I would hope, well, here's an experience I had. I talked to you about this earlier. I was, last week, I was on vacation. My wife and I were with a couple of friends, and we were in a bowling alley, and in Idaho, of all places. And we were anxious to get to our lane. They had told us that was open, but there was this big screen, Herald TV, and it was opening weekend, and the Red Sox were playing, and Jaron Duran was at bat. And I think my house could have been on fire, and I would have stopped and still paid attention. I was riveted by that at bat. And I feel like when people watch this series, whether you're a Red Sox fan or not, you're going to get to know some of these people in such a way that you're going to feel differently about them when you see them playing. You're going to recognize and remember who they are as people away from baseball, and I think it will make the game more interesting.
I'm thrilled we got a chance to talk about this. I'm excited for people. So glad for baseball to really get a window into what the players are going through. I think it gives the fans a whole different feel, like you're talking about right here and what we've been discussing. And for the Red Sox organization to open up. I hope there's others coming. Do we have any others that we might be going? Well, we have another team coming up. We'll end it with that.
Yeah, I think we need to, if this show can reach a certain audience and gets the traction that I think it will, I have a feeling there will be. But we need we need a group that is willing to grant us the same level of access, the same editorial control that the Red Sox did. But my feeling is people will watch this and go, oh, I can't believe it took us this long to do this. Let's do this again. If they do, I hope they do. I'm all in.
Oh, no doubt about it. Greg, thank you, man. What a great time.
Harold,
I appreciate you so much.
It's so good to be with you. Thanks for having me on your show.